Good evening. Let me convene the Concord Township Zoning Commission meeting of Tuesday, December the 6th. Heather, can I call to order, please? Roll call.
Sure. Mr. Terriaco.
Here.
Mr. Landfelter.
Here.
Mr. Reppert.
Here.
Mr. Schindler.
Here.
And Mr. Eifelis.
Here. Good evening, everyone. First of all, let me welcome Ron joining us here this evening. Good to see you. Thanks for
Glad to be here.
sharing your time and expertise with the board. I appreciate that very much. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from November the 1st.
Here we go.
Any questions or comments?
I would like to make a comment, okay,
Please.
to acknowledge the very good job that Mindy did with the minutes, especially with the distinguishing between Peter's son and Peter's sin. It messed me up for about a half hour as to what was going on in the minutes, but I finally figured out what was going on, and you did a wonderful job. Other than that, I have no comments.
Duly noted, Hiram. Thank you. Thank you.
Mark this date on the calendar.
Mark this date.
We've had a few of those.
If there are no other comments, could I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
No. Go ahead, I'll second.
Mr. Chairman, I so move that we approve the minutes as written.
We have a motion for approval
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? None. Thank you. Correspondence is the next item on our agenda this evening. Any members of the board report any correspondence? Frank?
None for me, Mr. Chairman.
None for me, Mr. Chairman.
Likewise, been a quiet month for me as well. Andy?
Not a peep.
Not a peep.
It's been a good month.
Ron, if you had received correspondence,
I have nothing.
even though you're just joining us for the first time, you never know. Never know. Okay, thank you. Public participation, next item on the agenda. There's no one here physically. I don't think there's anyone on the phone as well, right, Heather?
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Don't all rush to the podium.
Don't all rush to the podium. New business this evening. We have no items for new business. We're gonna move right into our old business agenda, but before we do, just to note from the documents that was left at each of our places here by Heather that the trustees did approve all the amendments that we took into consideration and recommended for the town hall neighborhood. So those have been all approved by the trustees.
Good.
Under old business, we have a work session to review section 22.03 table of uses and section 1336 innovative site PD and section 1332 outdoor storage. This has been a continuing work session for these sections, and given the fact that we do not have any active submittals or other site plans on our agenda this evening, we want to take advantage perhaps of using our time to really focus on these sections this evening. So in preparation for that, I've generated some comments reading both sections, in particular section 22, the table of uses. But in preparation for the meeting and how I think I'd like to orchestrate and conduct it, I've asked Heather to walk us through the table of uses and then allow for discussion, questions and discussions as we proceed. And I thought that might be best. She has done a lot of work and has also recommendations, as you've seen in what she's provided to us in terms of some recommendations on the sections. So with that, Heather, maybe you can help us walk through section 22.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Now, question,
Yes.
are we just doing capital?
I've thrown out a couple other suggestions for your consideration with
Yeah,
tonight's.
so we're just doing the capital district?
I was going to focus on the capital district because that was initially our focus, but then raise a couple other districts that we might want to also discuss tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so it's not
Okay.
limited to just the capital. So we
Okay.
can look at all
I'm
the.
gonna focus on capital.
I think. I mean,
Okay. All right.
But it's a good question, Heather. I should have elaborated. What I asked Heather to do was to focus on that as we go through it. However, I've generated comments on the table of uses for other districts as well, and through a discussion of these, perhaps you might generate questions as well on it. So I thought we might, given the fact that we have no other items on the agenda, take advantage of the time we have this evening. So, Heather?
Well, for several months, we had talked about reviewing some of the uses within the Capital District. As you know, the Capital District, one of the main goals of that area is to ideally generate some kind of walkable area that might lead into a town center if someone chose the option to do the innovative site plan development. Recently we had some applications submitted for some more auto-oriented uses, including gas stations and car washes within the Capital District. So if you're looking at our page 22.5 under the section 2203 table of uses, I'm suggesting that we eliminate gas stations and car washes as conditionally permitted uses within the Capital District. An update on the Sheets project that was settled with the trustees and the applicant, so they are permitted to build there. That by removing these uses from the table would not impact that project. So it wouldn't impact that, and there's no other, all the other property in the Capital District is either vacant or there's a non-conforming business just north of where we approved, where the board conditionally approved the ice cream store and car wash last month. So other than that, everything else is vacant land. So we wouldn't be generating any additional non-conforming uses by eliminating those two. And in the Town Center Master Plan study, one of the recommendations was to take gas stations, specifically, if I recall, out of the Capital District as a use. So those under the traditional Capital District were the only modifications that I had at this point. I did want to bring to your attention, and I know I mentioned it previously, there's another zoning district that I think we might need to simultaneously start taking a look at some of the uses. It's very limited. It's that manufacturing district.
Before we do, Heather,
Yeah.
can I just ask the board, in terms of that recommendation, maybe take this one right now since it's before us, to consider the removal of the gas station and car wash in this district as a conditional use? Is there any concerns, questions, or comments?
No, I'm all for it.
We're a little late, but that's all right. Yes, I'm all for it.
Andy?
Yeah. Horse is out of the barn, but
Yeah.
Ron?
do.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm okay.
Great. So, as it relates to that, then Heather, in 13 under conditional use, if I may ask a question that's related to this as well. In 13, bed and breakfast, gas stations, car washes, there's language in every one of those sections in 13 that indicate those uses shall be conditionally permitted, and it indicates each district.
Correct.
As an example, gas stations shall be conditionally permitted in GB, Gateway Business, Restricted Capital, and Capital, and the recommendation is to remove and Capital.
Correct.
My
yes.
question
So-
is, sorry.
Yes.
The question is, this section 13 is conditional use permit. Section 22 is the table of uses of the permitted or conditionally permitted or accessory use in each of the zoning districts. Why do we indicate them in the conditional use permit? Why do we have language that says those districts here when 22, so this is forcing us to change it in two locations all the time.
Right.
right? It would appear,
Yeah.
obviously we have to.
I mean, the short answer is I have no idea.
You have no idea.
Okay. It looks like a lot of these conditionally permitted uses were put in the resolution back in 2007 when I'm looking at these revision
I see the
dates.
2007, yes.
So I don't know if, Keith, would you have any, I mean, by having it in both locations, is that something, like, could we eliminate that basically under section 13? Is that what you're maybe
I'm a
suggesting?
streamliner guy, yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
list what the
Well,
conditions are.
especially if
Put the table back in.
especially if the intent of commercial and industrial use regulations indicate what is conditional and permitted use in each of these districts. Then we, in the conditional use permit, we go the extra step and say it again.
Yeah.
And it kind of, ever since I came across that, I've been meaning to ask.
Yeah.
why.
Brought to you by the Department of Redundancy Department.
Could be. Aren't they they're out of service right now?
Little bit.
They're redundant.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've been eliminated.
They've been
Right.
eliminated.
They eliminated
Because they're
themselves.
redundant.
Right.
So, Rich, like, and we could check with legal counsel about this, but maybe we could reword section 13.25 and just state gas stations shall be conditionally permitted in compliance with the following. And then just eliminating all the references to the
Yeah, and
districts
it's not a,
themselves, yeah.
yeah, I just brought up it, maybe just something I'm asking if there's a reason to have it in both locations. It always bother, for me, when we have it in two locations, so you're prone to error.
Correct.
Catch it,
Yeah, because I didn't even think about that the first time around, like even the last month that we did this.
Yeah.
It didn't even,
Yeah. So I know,
I think more to your point though, Rich, is the fact that, when we change one, we got to change both.
right.
yeah.
And that way we don't make it ticket. We
Right.
don't have a potential issue where we change one and don't change the other.
And-
Yet,
Then we have
forget to change
conflicting-
that. But-
we got major conflicting.
But
yeah,
Heather
then we got-
does-
Then we got real problems on our hands.
But Heather does that, and what brought it to my attention again, because I've been meaning to ask this before, is right, she shows us, she's got to change everything in 13, if,
Yeah.
whatever we change in 22, so, anyway.
Do you have any comments on that, Keith, at
Rich,
this point?
Keith?
Or
The only thing I can think of is that you wouldn't want, say, like you were saying, 13.25 to say gas stations shall be conditionally permitted in compliance with the following, because if someone then said, okay, well, I want a gas station in, say, the Capital District, and you say, oh, well, section 22 doesn't list gas station as a conditional permit in the Capital District, but they say, but 13.25 says that gas stations are a conditional use permit. So I think they have that sort of, and this is a little bit of speculation on my part, I think they have that redundant language so that when you're identifying, okay, gas stations shall be conditionally permitted in these sections, and it's sort of double checking that, okay, it's only allowed in these districts, which complies with the table in section 22. Like you say, it is a little bit of cause for concern to make sure that you are amending them together so that there's all the changes are complete in both sections. You're not getting conflicting language, but that's the only thing I would think is that if someone said, oh, gas stations shall be conditionally permitted in compliance with the following, and then they want a gas station in a district that doesn't have it, that's sort of where my brain was going towards.
But but Counselor, if it's omitted from the charts, then it would be basically moot, correct?
Well,
Because if it's not in here, I think Mike Lucas always had the philosophy if it's not in there, then it's not permitted. So, kind of thing. Correct. The argument that if it's omitted, then it's not permitted.
Right.
and that makes sense. I would just fear someone trying to skirt the language of the law. Unfortunately, people do that sometimes. So I think that's just why they have sort of the redundant language to make sure that there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So it's sort of like a checks and balance.
Yeah. So that they can't come
I
back.
don't see here, but I'm going to look somewhere else and correct. I do not see it here.
Yeah, they might try to get their foot in the door some way,
Yeah.
start a lawsuit, all that sort of, because, okay, it's not listed in 22, but I think I can find my way through 13 because it's not specifically listed there. I mean, it is sort of a very long workaround way. It's a probably very rare situation, but that's sort of why I'm thinking they put sort of the two sets of similar language in there so that there's nothing really to go with.
We appreciate that feedback, Keith. Could I ask, since you're obviously speculating, thinking perhaps you could get, nothing urgent for that this evening, if perhaps you could get back to us more formally?
Of course.
If you appreciate that. If you do, we do see a legal concern with that. I understand your perspective on it, though. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. So with that, Heather, I think the consensus here on the board is we're accepting the removal of that as those two uses as on the conditional use.
Okay.
So please, you're going on to manufacturing.
Okay. Yes, so the manufacturing district, which I'm sorry, I just threw together these maps today. I thought I would, just in case folks weren't aware of where the district was at. There's two maps there. There are only 3 parcels of land in Concord that are actually zone manufacturing. So I just did a quick GIS map here with an overlay of the zoning district, showing the first one has actually, I'm sorry, it's 4 lots total. There's 3 lots right here on Concord Hamden, right outside of the Hunt Club. The former Grimes C building that's for sale currently. And then adjacent to that is Hannon Electric. So the office building that was the Grimes building is currently vacant. It's about 2 acres, and then they have a parcel behind it that's about 2.7 acres. It has part of their driveway on it. It's mostly wooded. It backs up to I-90. And then to the west is Hannon Electric, which they basically use that as an office kind of building. And it's 4.6 acres. And then the other parcel that is zone manufacturing is located on the west side of Auburn Roads, just about south of Spear Road, and backs up to I-90 there, and the Hillshire Woods multifamily development. It's occupied by Dolby Systems. They use it as an office building, and it's about 5 acres in size. But recently I've gotten a couple calls from a couple real estate agents that have some clients that were eyeing the office building on Concord Hamden, and they were asking about uses. More than once, actually twice, someone was asking about potentially some type of general building contractor providing an office area and indoor warehouse area, and potentially some outdoor, storage area for vehicles. So when I looked at, what type of uses are permitted or conditionally permitted in the manufacturing district, you can see them right here. There's basically offices, research development labs, and then for whatever reason, we have a child and adult daycare center. It's a little odd. Light manufacturing, printing, publishing, and bindery, government uses. And there was a conditional use for surface extraction of sand, gravel, and other earth materials, which is a whole other conversation. So when I was looking at some other communities, districts, and doing my own little research on that, a lot of them have, some limited amount of commercial districts that are also permitted within manufacturing districts. So I kind of went and looked at what more commercial uses we already allow in other zoning districts in Concord, and identified a few that I thought might be acceptable or compatible uses for this district.
Okay.
In addition to a couple more warehouse type wholesale business facilities. So I was suggesting on page 22.5 that we consider maybe adding as a permitted use wholesale and warehouse facilities. And then on the next page, possibly the general building contractors. and then I can go into the next step after that. But that was another area that I thought, because the building is up for sale now and we were getting a lot of interest in it, that since we're already talking about amendments, if we wanted to expand the uses that would be allowed in there, that this would be an opportune time to bring it up. So, I don't know if there's any thoughts from the commission on that, or questions, or
The initial
concerns,
is
or
every manufacturing parcel is not used for manufacturing.
I know.
So
That's where I was going to go with this.
We don't
have-
Why are we why are we doing this? Why don't we do like what we did with the town hall? Just, I mean, really seriously, manufacturing. We've got such a limited number of parcels, and there is no I mean, we would not be making any of these. The current Dolby Systems doesn't do manufacturing. I know that for a
Right.
fact.
Yep.
Hannon Electric doesn't do manufacturing.
Correct.
And that other office building is basically,
They didn't
it's vacant right now, but
Yeah.
when it had tenants, there was nothing manufacturing going on there.
Right.
And the other parcels of vacant land, why don't we consider just kind of scratching manufacturing and maybe convert it to something maybe
general
either,
business.
well, either I would say general business or research and limited industrial would make a good segue, or general business would be a good segue. But I mean, what's the point in keeping manufacturing even on the list when we've got such a limited number of parcels that are involved?
I know one of the biggest reasons people complain that the manufacturing, of course, brings in more taxes.
Well-
And we need more taxes to take the load off the residents. I've heard that time and time again at public hearings. Is that an issue? That's my point. Or does manufacturing actually bring that much tax base to the community?
Well, a manufacturing business versus some other commercial business in Concord on these parcels, I mean,
Right.
we're not getting income tax.
No.
They're not in the JED.
Right.
So we just be getting property tax based on the assessment of, the value of the
Yeah,
land
you're not
and of the
generating
building.
any.
So
You're not
I don't
generating
know,
income
but-
tax because they're not in the JED.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would think that and this other parcel, which troubles me, is this long bowling alley parcel by Hannon Electric there. That's almost, what's the point in that?
The one, in front right here?
Yeah.
That actually is, I should have told you, that's not really a parcel there. The way the road right away was,
widened.
I didn't go in and edit the shape.
it's widened right away.
Yeah, it's a wider right away, so it's not really, that's not a separate parcel.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that parcel's completely
No.
useless.
Yeah, I know, it's really
that.
just that
Right.
triangular,
Gotcha.
and then the office,
Gotcha.
and then the flag lot.
So then in
behind
essence,
it.
that's just 3 parcels there then.
Correct,
Okay,
yeah, and then
all
the
right.
fourth would be the Dolby Systems.
Correct. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think we should consider sending manufacturing the way of the town hall. I think we ought to just scrap it from the zoning text. That's my opinion. I mean, why not? Unless somebody can give me a compelling argument to keep it there, I don't really see any reason.
When you consider, to your point, Andy, when you consider general business, B2, general building contractors is a permitted use, which is exactly what you're suggesting to put in manufacturing anyway.
Right. Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
already-
and now if this was all vacant land,
Yeah,
it was open for development,
Right.
and we were looking for manufacturing potential candidates
Mm-hmm.
for this, I would say then maybe we should consider leaving it.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, 3 out of the 4 parcels, or 3 out of 4? Yeah, 3 out of 4 parcels
yeah.
are already, currently inhabited by somebody that's not manufacturing. So what's the point? Not going to change that. What are you going to do? Tear down Hannon Electric and build a manufacturing plant? No. You're going to tear down an office building and build a no. The only option there is the 2.7 acres, and that is not very much property, guys. 2.7 acres to put a manufacturing facility?
No.
Were you going up?
No.
You got a height restriction, so I mean, what are you going to do on 2.7 acres?
Abutting residential.
Yeah, you're not going to. Yeah, exactly. Abutting residential. What are you going to do with that? I mean, how is that going to play in a potential development standpoint? I think it's a waste of time. I think we should scrap it.
Well, I'm for
My 2 cents.
scrapping it because everyone comes out to Concord because it's what they call a bedroom community. It's a nice place to live. You don't have all this traffic from manufacturing, which brings in traffic with trucks and all that good stuff and all the environment that goes along with manufacturing.
30 years ago, 40 years ago, it may have served its purpose.
Right.
Today, I don't think it serves any purpose to the community. What do we want manufacturing for?
No.
Do we really want to keep manufacturing when we don't have any manufacturing property and keep that in the zoning text? It just clutters things up.
Yeah. And in general, like you say, Andy, it's not large enough anyway for manufacturing.
Right, you're not doing anything with
You're
that.
not, yeah,
2.7 acres, you're putting a small office building on there.
right.
Or maybe a landscape company with some landscaping equipment and stuff. That's not enough property to build much of anything from
No.
a manufacturing standpoint.
No.
So, my thoughts.
Any other thoughts from the board? All right, Hiram?
Well, I could put a marijuana distribution on 2.7 acres. But that's, again, is general business and not manufacturing. I don't know, do they manufacture? No, they don't, they just process.
Right. They just grow stuff.
So,
It's a quiet business. It's a quiet business. They don't make a lot of noise.
yeah, it's a quiet business, not much noise.
So,
Heather, how does that sound to you in terms of,
I think, I mean, if we're talking a zoning district change instead of
Yes.
permitted uses, I'd probably want to take a look at, okay, if you're
Yeah.
talking B2, we would probably want to go down and look at what those uses are
right.
and make sure that you're comfortable with those uses being either
I'm
permitted or
looking at
conditionally.
those and some of those.
okay.
Yep, I agree.
And I was just kind of doing that as you guys were talking. The other thing I was looking at are the dimensional requirements, the lot requirements.
Oh,
So, just generally speaking, well, you might get more dense development. You could get more commercial by going B2 because the lot size is half that of the M district. Frontage is reduced. So you could get possibly more development, more commercial development. But there are, if we're talking B2, just kind of looking at the table right now, but comparing the B2 and the M, all the office uses are the same. We'd lose the opportunity for research development labs, but then folks could do personal services like dry cleaning, shoe repair, photography, studios. So you could get some more of those type of uses that we're seeing over on Cryle Road, potentially being trying to locate it within this area. Vet services as a conditional use, funeral services. I don't think people do business services, copying mail centers or mail copy centers, but I don't know, it's still there. You still got that child adult daycare as a conditional use in either one of those districts. It would potentially bring in automotive repair. You'd lose the opportunity for light manufacturing. You got that wholesale as a permitted use. So, I mean, it's... does add in, like you said, the general building contractors. It also would conditionally permit construction and equipment sales and rental. The one area that would be really different would be the addition as a conditionally permitted use for residential care facilities.
yes.
Nursing homes, home for the aging, adult group homes, hospice care facilities. So I think that would be a significant change that you'd want to consider if you wanted to rezone that.
Will certainly require a little bit of due diligence to
Yeah.
review that, right,
Yes.
Heather? Is there a concern in terms of critical path, given the interest you've received on these properties from realtors?
No, I mean, they knew that, I told them that it wasn't, the general building contractors was not permitted, and they would need either some kind of variance or a zoning change. And but there was no, oh, okay, we're gonna do that, or we're gonna, I didn't
Okay.
even mention that we were looking at the uses.
Okay.
I just told them, what the resolution says, so.
Okay. So it's not like time is of the essence and there's this big
I don't know. I mean,
development. kind of-
yeah, I mean, I really don't know. Maybe
Okay.
that person heard, oh, you need a variance and walked away, or maybe they signed a deal
Okay.
and said, okay, contingent on zoning. I have no idea. Yeah, so.
So this only came up just once?
What's that?
This only came up once?
Two different occasions.
Two different
Yeah.
people or the
Yes.
same person?
Yeah, two different businesses looking at general building contractors. One wanted to use the whole building for their general building contracting, and they do engineering services, and they kind of do the whole gamut. And then another individual was looking at maybe using part of the building for office and outdoor storage for general building contractors, and then potentially leasing out spaces to other tenants. So there were two different kind of.
And
Things.
which parcel was that?
The office, the two.
That's that
office?
office building, yeah. And I think that the 2 acres, 2.7 acres behind are going with it. Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, if you remember when we looked at the land to the east, there's
Yes.
significant drop off back there.
Yes, yes.
So I think these are being sold together. I mean, not to say that it couldn't be developed separately, but
Is there a, when you do these maps, Heather,
Yeah.
is there a way, when you talk about the drop off like
Yeah.
that, is there a way that we can do a topo
oh
layer?
Yeah,
on
I
these?
took it off on this one, but yeah.
Because sometimes that it's a good visual when you can see, if you see there's a parcel that's like really challenged.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it flat like this, you would say, oh, that's
Right,
just a
right.
2 acre, 2.78. But then when you see a topo version of it, you go, oh, for crying out loud, 2 acres of the 2.7 is not buildable.
Right, yeah.
So that kind of puts a little bit of a different spin or perspective on it. So yeah, I just think, putting a topo with the gradations would be a nice little thing to have. Just that way, when we're looking at a parcel, we understand that it's probably really,
Right.
not developable, or it's really severely challenged.
Okay.
So that would be nice to have.
Sure.
Just a nice to have.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, Heather. So I think, given the discussion here, I think the consensus of the board is, we're receptive to changing in terms of providing a permitted use, but at the same time, maybe consider the zoning district as a wholesale change. And so perhaps that's something to research, review, and bring back.
Sure.
Especially as you mentioned, lot size and other restrictions based on, and maybe it's not B2 is the best fit,
Right.
perhaps.
And that'll give me an opportunity.
Give an opportunity, yeah.
Opportunity to look at that, and I'm not sure if our comprehensive plans have mentioned any potential changes to the M district. I don't recall, but I should go back and look and see if there was any.
Well, I think
good
another
point.
consideration on that too is the fact of the close proximity to residential development
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
So I think we want to definitely be
Oh, yeah.
cognizant of like you said, maybe general business B2 isn't the right
Yeah.
place for it to go. Just
Okay.
considering that it is abutting a residential lot and it's right across the street from
That was my concern.
Yeah.
Now that we've added the residential units.
Right.
To what's across the street.
what's across the street too. So we got to think about what they're going to be, could potentially be confronted with. Hannon Electric's been there they've been there forever. I mean, they've been there as long as I can remember, so. And Dolby Systems, they're up on the top, they're up on the hill there.
They're up on-
You don't even, when you drive by there, you don't even see all you see is the driveway.
Yeah.
You don't even see anything, you don't even see the building till you get up.
very
there.
Ron's probably the only one that's ever been in there.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to their offices before.
Yeah.
So I know what. Yeah, you wouldn't even know it was there if you didn't.
Right.
If you didn't know it was there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I'm okay with that.
Okay, so moving on, after the manufacturing discussion, Heather, did you have?
Oh, okay. Yes, continuing on with that. I've had, under accessory uses, outdoor storage is a conditionally permitted use in the majority of our commercial and industrial districts. And I didn't understand why under the B2 and under the M district, it was just a straight up accessory use. So what I was proposing at this time was just to make them to make those conditionally permitted accessory uses as well. So that's why you're seeing a couple changes there under the B2 and the M district. And with that, I looked at what are the specific conditions for outdoor storage. And those are in section 13.32, which if you want to flip to that other document, find the page number here for you. On page 13.25.
Which page?
13.25.
All the red.
At the bottom, page 13.25. Page number is on the bottom, in the center. So there's kind of a part A and a part B to this section. Part A has to do with the outdoor storage of goods, supplies, equipment, vehicles. And I was looking at some other communities' resolutions and thought, like, our standards really don't have a lot to them. Like, and I thought, being a conditionally permitted use, that one of the reasons why we might make it conditionally permitted use is to make sure it's going to be like screened from adjoining properties, which we really had nothing in here regarding that. So I've added in a couple things, including where it could be located to prevent it from being in front of the main building. We should, if you're going to have an outdoor storage area, it should be adjacent to the building or behind the building, not facing the public road right away. Also suggesting adding in that the area be enclosed, either some kind of masonry material, being cohesive with the main building, or a fence, or some other, material that might be approved by, I put zoning commission, and now that I'm thinking about it, is that BZA or is that zoning commission? Because the conditionally permitted use would be approved by the BZA, but the design and the review, if it came in front of you, would be the zoning commission.
You know what I would say.
So, I know. Yeah, so I have to make sure that that can leave that zoning commission if this were to go further than any more than tonight. Obviously, I'd want to check on that.
How does that stipulation impact, like, right up down the street, a landscape business that stockpile all the mulch?
They would be non-conforming. They're already non-conforming.
They're already non-conforming.
So Maple, right at the corner here, Maple Ridge?
Yeah.
He's lawful, non-conforming. That use is not even permitted in that district anymore. So he could continue as is. That really would not impact him. The other landscaper north of here, Landmark, right? Again, he's non-conforming. He's already using almost the entire property for his outdoor area. Accurate Landscape. I mean, he's still in the middle of, reconstructing his main building and then making his changes in accordance with his plans that were already approved.
Yep.
So that would still be able to continue.
Okay.
I'm thinking this would be really helpful for new sites or sites that are going to expand outdoor storage areas. I do have a small concern with what's happening with 84 Lumber on Crowell Road. They are transitioning their business. I don't know if you've driven by there, but they did demolish several of their shelters. They used to
I
store
saw
all their
that.
conventional
They tore down all
lumber.
those buildings that they had all their lumber stored in.
Yeah.
Transitioning to
More of a distribution is what I was told. They're gonna do, like, inside they're still gonna do like windows and doors, but they might become the distribution center for one of their other stores, I heard, from Macedonia. And they're possibly looking at paving an area and doing more outdoor stuff, possibly building another structure there. I stopped in and talked to the manager, who was like, "Oh, corporate does all this," and I'm like, "Okay, well, please have them, get in touch with me before you guys do anything, so I can at least point you in the right direction, give you, help you through the process." But being that that's right on a main corridor, if they're going to do like outdoor storage stuff, they will have to come to the BZA to get that approved.
Yeah, that could get ugly.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or it could be good.
Or it could be really good.
Right,
Yeah,
it could
I
be
don't know.
good, but it
Yeah.
could get ugly too,
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on what they're gonna do.
So that was kind of also my thinking of maybe we need to enhance this section a little bit now. Just a couple other potential additions. Which,
What's the
Hiram?
definition of an improved surface under A6? Outdoor storage area shall be on an improved surface.
well, in our capital district or within our commercial districts, we require either asphalt, gravel,
Right.
or not. I'm sorry, asphalt, concrete, like permeable pavers, something like that. Not
Just can't dump it
gravel.
on the ground.
I think some of the outdoor storage areas in this landscape would not like that at all. Because they're gonna store things, yeah, they're gonna have, well, just the one up the street here. They have concrete block here, concrete block here, concrete block on the backside, but then they have the mound and it's all on dirt. All their storage materials are gonna be on dirt. So we're gonna make them pave it? I don't think that's being smart. If it's behind the building, they can't see it, and it's gonna be sectioned off or whatever it may be, let them put it on dirt. It's better than paving it, in my opinion. You want a permeable surface as opposed to an impermeable surface, so we're all for that. So you might think about
Okay, no, yeah,
number
thank you.
6. And where we're at, what does 7 say?
You feel the same way about gravel too then, Hiram?
No, gravel is an a permeable surface. But concrete isn't.
Right, but I'm saying would you be, I mean, so your concern is putting like asphalt or concrete down.
Yeah,
But if they were gonna put gravel down, you'd be okay with that.
yeah, I'd be okay with gravel.
Right.
I don't think the contractor would though. Because whenever he puts his backhoe in there, he doesn't want to pick up
Gonna be
gravel.
scraping up gravel,
He
right?
wants to
Well, when
pick
he
up
gets
dirt.
towards the bottom, right?
Yeah, well, then he knows he's at the bottom when he picks
Right.
up gravel.
Versus dirt.
Yeah, versus dirt. He can sell dirt with anything. Same thing about number 7, secured by a gate. Maybe the whole area can be secured by a gate. Well, okay, that would work. Yeah, that would still work. So I'm just looking at 6 as a potential problem.
Let me ask Heather, 1332, this outdoor storage isn't this specifically dealing with districts? Oh no, those districts include where landscaping companies are, sorry.
Yeah.
No, see, equipment vehicles, I see why we want to improve surface, but it includes, those districts include landscaping firms, yeah.
Well, and I agree with you, Hiram. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all going to be kind of enclosed in, and
Yeah.
why should we maybe be dictating, what surface they put it on?
Right.
I can strike that proposed change.
Good point, Hiram. I would have to agree. But thank you for bringing this to our attention, though, Heather. This good that hadn't been in there. And you brought it to our attention. I never have seen the lack of conditions on outdoor storage.
Right.
Yeah.
And then one other small modification, and I don't know if this would affect landscapers or not, but would be under section B of that same outdoor display of goods for sale. I was suggesting that under number 5, that the outdoors display areas shall also be located on an improved surface. So, I'm trying to think. All right, so the Concord rental on Cryle, where the hardware store is now, they have some outdoor storage or display areas for like the U-Hauls and that kind of equipment that they're selling. And there were no surface kind of requirements for where they park that stuff. And I know that stuff moves around kind of from the grass to the gravelled, and then sometimes
Yeah.
they move it to the parking lot, and, so. Do we want, that's just one example of something that might be outdoor for display, for sale, but I think it'd be easier to maintain that area. If we're asking them to put it in a neat and orderly fashion, would it hurt to specify that it be some kind of improved area?
We just go up here again to the landscape or whatever they are. Who is it right up here at the corner?
Maple Ridge
Maple.
Garden Center, yeah.
Yeah, some of their stuff on the outside with all the pots and everything like that, that's on dirt. It's not on an improved surface. So you get your shoes dirty whenever you want to walk there. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It has to do, I guess, and that depends on the business itself.
Yeah.
If you have trucks and stuff like that, you'd want them on a nice surface so that people would come and walk around and wouldn't be walking in mud if it's raining and stuff like that. And I think you as an owner would want it to be set up like that so it's not going to be a messy thing for your customers to walk around in. Because that doesn't encourage people to do that if it's a mess. I know I wouldn't do that. So having a hardened surface makes sense for that type of a thing. But if you're talking about landscaping, like you talk about pots, well, that's one thing when you walk around, look at the pot. But most landscaping places have areas that you can walk around and not get all messed up in general. Because they don't want their clients to walk around and bring, if nothing else, bring all that mess back into their showrooms if they happen to be indoors. Their dirty boots and everything like that too. So I guess that calls for some discretion.
I think we're going to get a lot of BCA if we put that in there.
I hear you. Yeah, I was thinking about Bremick too down the
Bremick,
street. They
yes.
have some of that outdoor display area, and I know it's either on gravel or right on the.
If they do more of a
Grass.
sales,
They do
you'll
sales.
find more of a harder
Right.
surface. But if
Yeah.
they do provide more of a service to you at your home or whatever, then their equipment will just sit on
That's true. Right.
whatever surface they have,
I know.
such as Maple Ridge and Landmark.
Right.
Yeah, I think the comment's worthy, but I think we're kind of not like excited about
I
that.
hear you totally.
Okay.
No, I really, yeah.
But thank you for bringing us to the attention under outdoor storage. So, really good. So that was where you were addressing under, accessory uses in the table of uses.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes. So any, thoughts from the board on switching for the B2 and the M district? I mean, well, right now the M is really a moot point. No one's doing any kind of outdoor storage there now, but
Yeah.
potentially in the future they might. If it was set up as just an accessory use, there really are no conditions that they would have to comply with other than maintaining proper setbacks from the property lines.
Other than my quizzical look at accessory use under accessory uses.
Right.
Doesn't anybody kind of like, what is that? As opposed to, there's a conditional use under accessory use. It just, I don't know, again, I'm trying to streamline and simplify things. You know what I'm kind of saying is, does it make sense to have a conditional use under accessory uses?
Oh.
Like, if it's an accessory use, maybe I got to think of these. Like, I've actually put an arrow by drive-through facility in association with a permitted or conditional use. A drive-through facility in association with a permitted or conditional use, and then we're in those districts, it's a conditional use.
Correct.
Just confuses me. But maybe there are applications.
Well, doesn't that just mean that it has to go through?
It has to go
BCA,
through BZA.
As opposed to just saying permitted, it's gone. It's, you don't
Yeah.
have to talk to anybody.
Yeah,
Having a C in that table means it's got to go through BZA.
goes through BZA. So if it's listed as an accessory use, under this accessory use, it means it's permitted as an accessory use.
Correct.
Does it have to go through anybody?
By right,
Does
right.
By
it
right.
have to go through anybody
Is
after
it-
that?
No,
No, it doesn't.
Right, unless they're modifying something on the site externally
Right.
that would trigger site plan review, then it would not be in front of a board if they were doing,
you know where I'm getting at, Heather. I'm sorry if this, but I would have thought if these are accessory uses, they would be permitted. It would be Ps here, not As. These are accessory uses within these districts.
I know.
Unless you
And we
wanted
say-
to go through BZA.
But no, I'm asking the designation of A as an accessory use.
It should be a P.
That's what I'm asking. Are we?
For any of these under accessory, I mean, or just,
I'm just asking the question. I mean,
Yeah.
I when I first read these months ago, I registered these questions in my head, and I didn't find my answer in the book. And I thought if these
So
were
what's your proposal then?
Wait,
Change them from A to C?
P.
from A to
They're
P.
permitted. These are permitted accessory
Okay.
uses. And maybe I'm wrong, but
No,
that's how I
hold on. No,
read
I
it.
hear what you're saying now. I'm sorry, let's look at section 22 the page, section right before this, under 22.02D.
I know you're gonna
Oh,
find
wait,
something.
no, C, sorry. 22.02C. Yeah, a use
Okay.
listed in section 22.03 shall be permitted as an accessory use in a district when denoted by the letter A. I mean, so should we change that and say P? And then go to the table and change all, I mean, is that, I don't know who started this. I mean, it wasn't me, so we're just making changes as we go along. So, I mean, we can make some significant changes as long as we look at it closely and check with legal, so,
Yeah.
It's a work session.
yeah.
It's a work session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sorry. It's
I mean, if
my
we wanna
engineer's
enter-
mind kind of seeing
Yeah.
things straight lines and squares, and
I know.
it's like this is a permitted use in the accessory mind, isn't
But
it?
do you want to do, but if you look at that page,
Yeah.
you know, if you look at page 22.7, and you see all under accessory uses, and you see the vast majority are Cs, would you want to change those to Ps, or would you want to change them to Cs?
I presumed they were labeled C because it's not permitted accessory use in those districts. That's why the C.
But you were saying you wanted to change them to Ps. Just
No, the A's.
The A's.
The A's.
Ps.
Yeah,
A's to P's, the C's have to go through BZA.
yeah.
So there's nothing in there that are A's that are accessory uses that you would want to see go to conditional.
Oh, I didn't do a deep dive on each one, Andy. I was just
Oh,
commenting.
okay. I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
understand where you're
I would
going
just,
with it.
I would just came with the general, like, I didn't quite understand the designation of A.
Right.
But as Heather points out, it's defined as a permitted use, but we're using the letter A.
Well, and there could be a way to change this, you know, and maybe the table is two separate tables. Here's your table of permitted and conditionally permitted uses, and then here's another table of all your accessory uses. And then within that, you could have P and C again.
Yes.
And that, because like, I think like on the table right now, we have those kind of subheadings, like where it says accessory uses, but what does that subheading really mean? Does that mean anything legally? I don't know, because like you see right above
yeah.
like community facilities, entertainment, recreation, other. So if we were going to change A's to P's, I would want to be very clear that
Okay.
these are the list of accessory uses. Just because I don't know what do those mean anything?
I think A does equate to a P in this section because for the accessory uses, they're all sort of a additional use, a subordinate use to
Subordinate use.
either a P or a C.
Yes.
So in this section, the A's do equate to a P so long as there is a P or C primary structure
Primary.
use.
Yeah.
So the A's sort of function as a P in that as long as there is that permitted use, whereas the Cs are requiring the BZA approval.
Thank you, Keith, yeah. And the final page, 22.8, they're all As. They're all As.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And I'm raising the question, Heather, no, obviously, again, it's not something to decision to evening, so it's more of a, sure, has some due diligence here to review and understand it in case glossing over something that we're just reacting to.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, you were on outdoor storage.
Oh.
And you, so a recommendation was to make those conditional uses since they are across the board.
Correct. And then that would bond them to the same conditions that are in 13.32 as any other
As in-
district.
yep.
Especially if the M is going to be adjacent to a residential district now, or the B2, which I don't have a zoning map in front of me for some reason. The B2 tends to be along the east side of Ravenna, which a lot of those back up to our districts and the bike path. So that was a couple of the reasons why I suggested making those conditionally permitted uses.
Okay. Do you have anything else on the table of uses? Heather?
I don't think I did. That was all I had at this point. Unless there was anything that the board wanted to bring up?
Yes, I did. Oh,
Yes, I
yeah, I
did. No,
remember.
go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Go right ahead.
On 22.4, okay, the first page of, page 22.4, first page of table of uses. What struck me here under office and professional services is that all of those uses are permitted except one. In the Gateway Business Research and Development Labs, it's the only one that has a conditional use. Looking at the Research and Development Labs and Gateway Business, it struck me as I did not understand why it wouldn't be permitted. Everything else, it's permitted in Gateway Health, it's permitted in research, and given the proximity, I have my map in front of me where Gateway Business is, I was just asking the question. That a consideration that maybe that,
Sorry, I have no idea what that noise is.
Is that the telephone or is that your security system?
It's normal. I don't know what that noise was.
But usually sometimes if it's going off,
Yeah.
the monitoring station will call and make sure everything's okay.
Okay. Yeah, that wasn't the phone, so I'll listen for the phone. Yeah, it said town hall's ready to arm.
Ready to arm.
Ready. Yeah.
Was someone trying to come in the front door?
I heard a noise.
Did I hear
I
somebody?
know. I thought. Do you want to?
can we
I
pause?
mean, the front door. This door is open because you all came in.
Yes.
Yeah, but I thought I heard someone trying to come in the front door.
Would you
I
like me to
didn't.
go look?
Or do you want to take it?
Yeah, we'll take a quick 5-minute break. Okay, thank you. Reconvening, to where we left off was a question regarding the research and development labs. Heather, any initial comment? I know I've just kind of hit you cold this evening.
Right, no, that's fine. I'm just looking right now, well, what are the specific conditions related to that use? And I'm looking in section 1319, and there are only 2 conditions. That the use has to have a lot area of at least 1 acre and 150 foot of street frontage. Which, looking at the district's minimums, normally for any other use, you only need a half acre and 100 foot of frontage. So these 2 conditions basically just require a larger lot with more street frontage. So that's the only difference I see. I wouldn't.
Which is why it's
I
a
don't
C
notice-
then? Which is why it's conditional use?
That's the only speculation that I can have, unless there's a thought that this type of use would create more of a potential impact on the adjoining properties. So what are the other surrounding uses that might already be in place in the gateway business versus some of these other districts and what the surrounding uses might be? How do we define this research and development lab?
I think conditional use is important, my opinion. I've been to a lot of research facilities, and some of them you wouldn't want in your backyard, for one thing, depending on what they're doing.
Okay.
I know when I was in the machine tool industry, we were doing a lot of heavy research with different liquids for part of our machines, and some of the stuff had strong vapors, which we had, of course, we isolated within the research center, but still there's the potential. And if that's in an area that's, if you got office space, for example, and a daycare, for example, their proximities, that could be kind of dangerous. You have to worry about that, especially fire and stuff like that, just like you do about gases that you can't smell. You get into research nowadays, you can involve all types of different types of research, which could be hazardous and not environmentally safe.
Okay,
So-
thank you, Frank.
So I would say conditional, everything should be judged on its merits.
I like that thought process, but then why do we
Yeah.
have it permitted under the capital district?
That's what I was just going to say. It's under the Capital. Yeah.
Bringing that
I was
up
just
right
going to
now,
say it's
that's
over
right.
here.
Yeah.
Brings up another conversation.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So you might want to consider 2 things regarding that.
And as far as Gateway Health District, there are no properties in the township zone Gateway Health other than the Concord Village Skilled Nursing and the Assisted Living. So basically, the only other location would be back in off of Capital Discovery, RD2 for permitted use. So we might want to think about making that conditional and.
In the Capital.
In the capital district, then, as we're
Yeah.
talking about this,
Big time. I would suggest
or is that even appropriate there? I mean, let's take it even a step further.
Yes, good question.
there again, looking what's the surrounding areas, that's important.
Right.
Given the vision of the town center there, it would seem to me, and given your description, what a research and development lab,
Yeah.
I would
I would
like
think-
to say
Right. I
no.
would think twice. No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Especially depending if you're
Yeah.
out walking, you're encouraging people to use that as a way for recreation and walking around and stuff. That'd be you wouldn't want something like that in areas like that possibly.
Well, this is why we called this a work session, because I brought up the C here, but now it got us to maybe a more
Yeah.
important point about permitted use in the Capital District of a
Correct.
lab.
Correct.
It's a good,
Yep.
it's strong consideration,
Big time.
I would say. I'll just make a note of that one as well, Heather, unless there's any objection from anybody else on the board.
Well, do you want to look at all the Ps for research and development. Under research and limited industrial, gateway health and capital, and manufacturing. I'm gonna get rid of that one. But if that's the concept that we're questioning, we should have Cs across the board for that.
Well, I think it'd be okay in research and limited industrial, but then the others,
is
gateway
research.
health and capital, I think should be
Cs.
Cs. And I don't know, what are we doing? We haven't really formally decided what we're doing with manufacturing, but.
Right, right.
But yeah, I agree. I think that P is the only, I think permitted in research and limited industrial
only one.
industrial.
would be the okay, and then everything else should be changed to C. That's my thought.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
And then with that, we might want to take a look at, should there be some additional specific conditions related to that? Otherwise, it's almost like
Otherwise,
a shoe-in
it's a
for
shoe-in.
research and development labs. I mean, you're basically telling them to have 1 acre and 150 foot of street frontage. Then you get into that more vague kind of, what other kind of, then you'd have to kind of look at, the general standards in 1305 that are applicable to any conditional use. And if the BZA was going to potentially say no to an applicant, they would have to prove that it, well, and maybe this is okay, because it kind of goes into some of the potential negative impacts that a conditional permitted use might have in an area will not be hazardous or disturbing to neighboring uses, served adequately by essential public facilities, won't create excessive additional requirements. I think actually some of these might, I just had to refresh my memory on what was in under the general conditions. So coupled with the two is, you might just want to take a look at that. I'll make a note to see if there might be something else we might want to consider adding as a specific condition related to that use.
Very good, yeah. Good discussion. I think the consideration there that we just had is consider the, other than research, to make them all conditional use. My next question, I'm sorry, I have another one. My next was under,
Oh, no, I
under Town Hall Commons on the same page, 22.4. Right here, so this is the only area, right? Zone Town Hall Commons. There's a conditional use for restaurants and restaurant counter service. Is this something that is desirable here in this location? When I say this location, I'm pulling up a map.
Yeah.
Yeah, Town Hall Commons.
Oh, okay.
Chair.
Okay. THC purple.
Yeah, it's basically this, the opposite, across the street, excuse me,
Commons, the dark brown.
the dark brown,
Okay. Would you say so?
yeah.
It's like purple to me.
Here,
Right here. Here it looks dark brown there. No, I guess it is dark brown. Okay. I'm not gonna worry about it. We know where we are.
Yeah. It wasn't a major concern, I just brought up the seeing how the Cryle and the future town center is developed here in the township, and this has become mainly the center of public safety, fire.
Government,
Church.
church.
Government church, yeah.
Yeah.
What will happen, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, if there was a small restaurant across the street, is that just, that's Town Hall Commons.
Have good lunch business.
With the, yeah.
A lot of places now, they encourage food trucks. You know, they mobile. They come up and serve hamburgers and stuff like that, and all kinds of things. I know when they have festivals, when communities have festivals, you see all these food trucks lined up
Sure.
in the area and serving people all kinds of different meals.
Well, didn't we give Zappatelli a rezone on the parcel across the street at one point? He was looking at putting a restaurant there.
I remember there was a
I
discussion
remember.
about that.
Yeah, I remember.
really?
And then he kind of just bagged it. I remember we gave him we either did a rezone or we gave him the
Or you added the use, maybe?
we added the use
Probably
because
when you rezoned
because
it
it was
to Town
it's
Hall
that
Commons, yeah.
narrow strip across the road that goes back to the woods, right across right next to Discovery Den or whatever it is there.
Just south of the
Nursery.
Yeah, the
landscaper.
Maple Ridge
South.
Nursery.
Of Maple Ridge.
Yeah,
There's the
south
vacant lot,
on Ravenna Road.
Okay.
and then there's like
Yeah.
3 lots on that side. Zappatelli
Okay.
owns about 2 of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But then I don't remember what happened, but he kind of just decided not to pursue it. But they were looking at, because there was all the hubbub with the people that were living back in Hunt Club because they were concerned about lights and a outdoor patio and music and stuff like that, and being right in their backyard. There was some issues with that, and I think that may have been. I think that may have been enough of a deterrent that he decided not to do it, because there was some people right in that general area in Hunt Club that weren't real happy with that idea.
Well, that's kind of why I raised the question, given this location, traffic, lighting, noise, everything a restaurant brings.
But it's conditional, so
It's conditional.
they would have to meet the conditions, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a major thing I had a concern with. So those are my questions on that page, Hiram. So I yield to you, Mr.
Okay. Number one, I'm a little bit off because I thought we were going to focus on capital. Now, I'll be more than happy to start going through the rest of the table if we decide which ones we want to look at, such as town hall or whatever. Okay. That aside, let's go back to capital. I'm on page 22.5.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm on the next page. 22.7. And I know there's a lot of conditions to this thing, but why in the capital district and a whole bunch of the other ones do we allow surface extraction of sand, gravel, and other earth materials? Is there something that says we have to have that? I sure wouldn't want somebody, if I'm in a capital district, and a lot of the other ones, I wouldn't want somebody digging in my side yard.
Hiram, I asked Mike Lucas, and I haven't got a response yet.
Okay. Okay.
So,
What's the question?
whether or not we are legally required to allow that as a conditionally permitted use. Why do we even have it in there?
We're removing gas stations and car washes.
I
Why is
know.
this any
For
different?
some reason, there was something in the back of my mind that I thought there was something in the Ohio Revised Code
Oh.
that said that we couldn't prohibit it. And so I was asking Mike to,
May have to do with mineral rights.
yes, I'm not sure, though. Yeah.
Could have to do with mineral rights.
Interesting.
You know, if you have the mineral rights, I mean, if there's something of value underneath the ground, you would have the right to extract it.
No matter where it is.
But the sand, gravel, or
Can you
other
li-
earth
can you limit-
materials.
It's sand, gravel, and other earth materials.
Yes,
That's
it's the other
dig anything.
earth materials, I think,
Yeah.
that get you.
Keith,
Well,
are you
and if you look at
familiar with
13
any of that, or-
13.3, 13.4, 13.5, you go on and on and on
Yeah.
for all the requirements, but geez, I surely wouldn't want it in my side yard. But be that as it may. We asked the question, haven't gotten an answer back.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
conditions.
Oh,
The
yeah.
very first specific condition is you have to have at least 50 acres.
Well, that excludes a lot of them right there, doesn't it?
I'm just mentioning that. I mean, we can still pursue this a little bit more if we need to.
50 acres.
Well, that in itself would stop it.
Yeah.
And you gotta be 200 feet away from any
Yeah.
R1,
You could-
R2, 3, 4, or 6
And with the
district.
capital districts being planned to be developed, I think that would shoot everything, you know. You wouldn't be putting that in the middle of that kind of a district in the first place. So just the nature of the requirement for the size would stop it from going in anywhere.
Well, I appreciate your question, Hiram, even though it's
Yeah.
focusing on capital, you brought up for me the question on all these districts for,
Well, yeah, but
Extraction.
the 50 acres is.
right.
And that means it can't be an R1?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. It's not listed in the residential section at all.
Wow. I think we eliminated earth material excavation in Concord Township just by that. Okay.
Unless a consolidation of parcels.
Okay. Okay. And then the other one I had that I really don't agree with is the C in capital. In outdoor storage and or display in association with a permitted or conditional use. I think we ought to leave that one blank. If we're looking at capital district.
I'm good with that.
I agree with it as well. Especially if it's not on a paved surface.
Right.
That's a joke. That's a joke. Just for you. Just for you, Hiram.
We gotta get at least once in a meeting anyway.
You know, this glass of water is.
That's right. Get out of the way, Andy.
No, this real good point there kept on the capital use. Anybody have an objection to removing that as a conditional use?
Nope.
Nope. Fine with me.
I would ask you maybe
Yep.
just to consider retail display of sale of goods. Would it be appropriate for any of those type of uses to want to be able to offer for sale something outside? You know, even if it was,
Like what?
Summertime, a boutique shop that's
Yeah.
in the capital that has.
Well, as
Yeah.
long as you bring it in at
Bring
night.
it in
I was
at
just
night.
gonna
Yeah.
say, that's what I said,
Yeah.
like what? Are we, what are we
Yeah.
talking about? Are we talking about just putting stuff out on the sidewalk, or are we talking about permanent?
right.
Outdoor
I was thinking, I
display.
guess, a little bit more temporary type stuff, but
Yeah.
that kind of already happens already in some
Yeah.
retail areas of
Yeah.
the township that we don't get too worked up about, like the little boutique over in Grist Mills. Sophia, is that what it's called?
Sophia Boutique, yeah.
Yeah, she puts stuff out and then brings
Yeah,
it
Brings
and
it
then
back
you bring
in.
it in
No,
at
it's-
night. There's a boutique
Yeah.
in Concord Plaza that does the
But
same
she does
thing.
it too. Oh, okay.
Same thing.
See, I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But black and white, that really, Okay.
That's not really outdoor storage.
It-
That's outdoor display,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
only in nice weather.
Right. More of a temporary type of
Yes.
use.
Yeah.
On an improved surface.
I need the sidewalk. Yeah.
How long do I have to take to use?
Oh, you're gonna get
Set
that.
yourself up for it, Hiram.
You're gonna make a point of it every meeting.
I'm all for it. Go right ahead.
All right, man.
If that's the least you got on me, that's okay.
Come on, you're an umpire. You gotta have thick skin anyway.
Oh, yeah, I do.
That's a solid recommendation. We wanna,
I've been married for
Consider that.
52 years. It just rolls right off my back, right?
you have any others on capital, you wanna bring up, Hiram?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if we want to tackle some other districts, with everybody,
It's
I'd
all
be
in
more than happy to.
table of uses. So before we do, I failed to mention what you brought up, Heather, the ISPD district as well.
Correct.
Did you want to
Yeah, we can move into that maybe. a
cover
little
that
bit. Yeah.
as well?
Yeah. That way, if we want to prepare a little bit more on some of the other districts.
Because we
for
can
next
prepare a
meeting,
little
we
bit more
can.
on the table
Yeah.
of uses. I mean, we've covered a lot of, going on an hour and a half. So if we at least cover the ISPD this evening, and then
Yep,
going to continue this work session.
right,
Of course.
for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so if we want to switch gears here a little bit, back in section 13, under the conditional use. Starts at the bottom of page 13.27. Section 13.36, the innovative site PB is a conditionally permitted use in the capital district. So if you're looking at the use table, I've suggested adding a few additional permitted uses. And again, some of this is related to some of the modifications and suggestions to this plan unit development. Back in 2017, when we were working with the trustees and the zoning commission, we were looking at adding some of these uses. So I've kind of re-resurrected a few of those, and for your consideration tonight, as part of this potential town center area, we could envision some kind of community or new neighborhood parks within there. We would want to make sure that it was clear to anyone looking at this that those are uses that we would want there. So I think by adding them in as permitted, it shows that those are assets that we would want. Same thing, if a school wanted to locate there, we would encourage that within this area as well. Maybe no more on this outdoor retail sales that I had listed as a potentially conditional permitted use. But at the time I was thinking, kind of like the temporary type outdoor little retail uses, we would want to allow them, but maybe we want to regulate them, or at least review it conditionally. That way, if there were any concerns about the location or placement of those retail areas, that the BZA could review that. And then continuing on to the next page, this kind of moves into those accessory uses, and it's the same lettering system that we had in section 22.
Yeah, yes.
And A would be basically a permitted accessory use. Looking at eliminating this restaurant cafe, and just doing a little cleanup here on some of the listings, meeting banquet facilities, swimming pools, and tennis courts, removing the accessory buildings as a potentially as a accessory use, and adding in a few others, such as possibly a gazebo or some other feature element, a tower, a fountain, some kind of interest area within this development.
When you say reference to a tower, are you referring to an architectural piece or element?
Yeah, I think at one time there was a thought of some kind of clock
tower. It's in
something.
the town center.
Yes,
I saw,
yeah, there's some renderings
Okay.
in the town center.
Okay.
My only comment was on page 13.3, or 13.30, meeting and banquet facilities. You have that as an A. I thought it would be a C.
Okay.
I don't see where it would fit into,
Accessory
would it fit
use.
under a community center? To be an A?
Which one are you referencing?
Well, I'm looking at meeting and banquet facilities on page 1330. It's listed as an accessory use, which means it's got to fit with a permitted use. And which permitted use? Hotels, motels? Is that what the thought process is?
That's what I was just looking at. Yeah, I think that, yes, a hotel motel will more than likely have
Meeting
some type of
banquet
meeting or
facilities,
banquet
don't we have that already? We have that already under entertainment and recreation.
Right. as a standalone permitted
P.
use. Yeah, as like a principal use of the property.
Yeah.
So you can either do that as the principal use of the property,
And
or it could
also
be an
an-
accessory to another permitted
I see.
use, such as a
Okay. all
hotel.
right, Okay.
Okay.
I know the hotel would be the first, the one that really stands out that might actually do that. But there was another one too that I was thinking. Okay, no, yeah,
A restaurant,
yeah,
and it has a banquet hall attached to it or something.
right.
Can I ask Heather, given the capital district, is a school envisioned as a?
There was at one time a discussion about it. I don't know if you're familiar with the iSTEM school.
Sure.
So back when we were originally talking about this town center, and in 2017, iSTEM was actually housed inside the Auburn Career Center, and I know that they were looking for a location, and that was kind of on the table at the time, like, because we were all in on this RFP, you know, if someone were to move forward this, you know, maybe everything fell into place and, you know, we could partner or something like that. So I think there was, at that time, there was an idea of maybe that type of school, not like a traditional like elementary school, or I don't think Riverside is gonna do anything like that, but maybe a charter school or some kind of satellite school, but maybe that's kind of off the table now. I'm not sure. So.
I guess whether it was on or off the table, for me, a school brings bus traffic, schools, parking, cars, vehicle into an area that, at least from what town center, I personally don't see it as a fit.
Right, you know,
Almost
yeah,
like car washes.
and I'm thinking about like our definition of school is very broad. It would include all types of schools, from
Oh.
elementary all the way up to like
Yeah.
colleges. So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe that's not a good addition.
Is that a concern
Would it
from
be better
anyone?
as a C? Or just eliminate the P altogether?
Well, this is an addition, right? The school wasn't in here in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't
Yeah,
even- it
it
wasn't
wasn't in
even-
there
But
at all.
I proposed it as a P use, permitted versus conditional, but I don't know, I guess we'd have to maybe look at what, you would still potentially have the same additional impacts that Rich was stating, whether or not it was conditionally or permitted use. All the additional traffic, the buses,
We just take it out altogether.
right, maybe we don't.
Yeah,
I'm all
That's-
for that.
Yeah, I'm for taking it out
I'll
altogether.
take it out.
Right.
Because school could be defined as two different things. So preschool through 12, grade 12 is education. So Auburn Career Center, anything over grade 12 becomes a business. So it's a school facilities, but it's adult education is what it changes to. So you go from buses, or if you put in a different type of
cars.
education, you could become a lot of car traffic like Auburn Career Center.
Auburn Career Center also has a lot of bus traffic.
For the
Students.
children during the day,
Yeah.
yes. And then the adult education brings all the car traffic.
I'm just reading our definitions, very broad.
The school, yeah.
Yeah, it goes all the way from elementary to to middle school, junior high, high schools, vocational, special ed, colleges, junior colleges, universities, continuing education facilities, high-tech vocational post-secondary education facilities. So they're all grouped together.
And outdoor retail sales.
Again, along the same thought process I had, maybe some kind of
Unimproved
trying
surface.
to maybe allow for those retail uses to have some outdoor display areas, and
Unless there's
sidewalk
no gravel.
sales, those type of uses.
If it's defined that way, can you define it that way? If you're saying
We
it's.
could, yeah, because right now I threw it as a C, so there are no conditions specifically for that. So we could consider writing up a few, like very basic, like
Temporary.
not blocking the entrance or stuff comes in at night or
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it would at least require
I think
them
that's
to-
acceptable for the C.
okay. Would require them to come in
Capital
front of the board and actually show like what they're thinking, where they put it, make sure it was safe location, not blocking entrances to the building or anything like that. That would make the fire department mad.
Don't want to do that.
Good, these are good comments here for that section. Thank you, Heather. Anything else you had?
That's all I had for
Okay.
this.
Okay. Well, we covered a number of varying issues here, so I think this time I'm going to have to read the minutes very thoroughly. I took some copious notes, but it certainly didn't cover everything we were talking about here. Knowing we're obviously going to have a continued work session on this, I don't know if the board wants to continue discussion. I know other areas in terms of table of uses that we want to continue discussion while it's fresh in our mind. We've kind of covered a lot of them here already, and I think Hiram was going to bring up something under the table of uses. Maybe we can just continue the discussion for a few more minutes.
well, like I said, I'm not
really-
prepared
really
to
focused.
discuss anything other than
Right.
capital that
Oh,
I
okay.
reviewed.
Okay.
But if we want to, say, pick 2 or pick 3, whatever, for the next meeting, I'd be more than happy to give you my 2 cents, and I'm sure everybody else would too. If we're going to revise the table, we might as well revise it all at once.
Yeah, I guess
Instead of
that's
piecemeal,
that's
yeah.
what I guess I was thinking that and to your point, Hiram, maybe it's not all collectively is grabbing the first 2 or 3 or 3 at a time, and
That's fine.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, please.
Would it be, another way to look at it would be similar to what you did when you looked at the
Yeah.
research and development labs? Like,
Yes.
look at that use and kind of across the board,
Across the
where
board.
is it allowed? And then maybe that would get us into looking at what the conditions are surrounding that use. That would, then we could look at where would it be appropriate? Do we need to make changes? And then what are these actual conditions? You know, do we need to make any revisions to that as well?
In other words, attack it horizontally.
Possibly.
then
Yeah,
vertically.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In chunks, like, do we look at all the office and professional
Yes,
uses?
yes.
And then do we maybe
Retail and
look at
personal.
half the retail, you know, I don't know. And then look at all the automotive transportation uses, kind of look at it that way.
I like that suggestion.
I like that.
Yep. If perhaps we can divide that up, Heather, for the succeeding months here. Not,
Okay.
to your point, picking up the first 2 or 3 and then 2 or 3. And maybe approach it so that maybe we've completed it over 3 months or 3 sessions,
Okay.
perhaps divide it up in thirds.
And focusing on, like, just conditional
what you
uses
just-
or all of them?
My thinking is all of them.
Okay.
The table of uses. Obviously, I brought up the question about accessory use using A under, that kind
Oh,
of-
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got 10 categories. We discussed capital, so that leaves 9. So that would fit with your, if we do it over 3 sessions.
If we did,
and attack
we did.
Attack 3 per session over 3 sessions, that'll.
Yeah, if we did it vertically.
Vertically.
But now we're talking about horizontally,
Heather was suggesting,
going horizontal. Looking at office and professional services.
yeah,
See where they fit in.
horizontally is a lot more work. It's a lot more,
No, I don't.
yeah. What do you think, Heather? Keep to the horror.
However you guys want to do it.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, if you want to do it by district,
Just trying to be productive
I know.
without taxing.
it's hard to tackle the whole table of uses that.
No doubt.
Even over 3 meetings.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's being optimistic.
Yeah.
I like the horizontal way.
Yeah, I did. My
The more,
initial,
look, the
when
more I
Heather
look at it,
suggested
I like
that.
the
yeah.
horizontal way.
And then we'll take the time it's needed.
Look at the use and then see where you think that use fits, as opposed to coming down. I like going horizontal.
Yeah, I do too.
Now, as for a check, I think you ought to go through vertically and horizontally. Just as a second check.
Okay, so
Well, right, yeah.
so it's like tic-tac-toe. So I'll put
Yeah,
an X and
yeah,
you put an
yeah,
O and
yeah,
O. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
I'm in agreement.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
No, I like horizontal,
All right.
really. I do. More than vertical.
Do we need to look at office and professional services? I mean, I know, sorry.
Uh,
Other than these art research
well-
and development labs, which, don't know.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up
I mean,
because
some of it I feel like maybe, yeah,
is it necessary?
right.
Is it necessary? And we hit research and development labs with real good suggestion here to make them all C except research.
Yeah. Maybe we try to focus on it, in addition to these. Okay, so for next month, what I'm hearing is that I'm gonna come back with a little bit more information regarding the M district and whether or not we want to potentially
Right.
rezone that to maybe B2 or some other district.
Yep.
So I'll take a look at, comparing uses, lot sizes, and that kind of, those kind of things for you. And then I know I've noted some other specific changes in here that sounds like we're in agreement on, so I can make those revisions as well. And then I think, okay, should we focus on some of these retail personal service uses? Like everybody kind of take a look at
Yes.
what's in there currently, maybe
Yes.
what's on that first page on 22.4?
And the top
From
of the
restaurant to business services,
retail and personal,
the whole,
all inclusive.
the whole section, yeah, okay.
Again, like you
And
said,
the automotive is not huge either.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
You can throw that in, we can go through that pretty quick.
right, so we'll focus on that whole retail personal services in January. And then if while you're looking at that stuff, and I'll also look at it too, if you take a look at what are the conditions that correlate
Yes,
to that
sure.
in section
Yes.
13, I think that will be productive.
that would be productive. Yeah.
Okay,
Real good. Real good. Well, thank you, members. It was a real good discussion this evening. Thanks for the time and discussion and the dialogue.
So we'll keep these.
Under old business, we still have tabled the PUD and RCD district, which that will remain tabled. Our next meeting is January 3rd.
My God.
2023.
January. Holy smokes.
And before we adjourn, I just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season.
Same to you.
Be safe with your families and enjoy.
To you?
With that, if there's no further discussion, this meeting stands adjourned.